One more time.
All right.
Welcome to the studio corner, Josh.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome back, man.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, you were episode 6. Now you're episode 45.
Yeah, it's been quite a road for you. I've been watching.
Do you remember
and
what it
listening.
looked like in here?
It was much different. The table was turned.
It was like
mics.
a weird angle, right?
Yeah, different mics and
No cameras, no nothing.
yeah, it's evolved.
Upgrade.
It's nice.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Very excited. This is I always like talking to you. I mean, I come into your shop how many times, and just I come into your shop knowing that I'm probably gonna have to cut out 3 hours of the day. 'Cause we're gonna get going, and then I'm gonna walk out and need like an hour of calming and coming down from profundity.
Yeah. Well, it's good to talk with people about things that matter.
Absolutely. And speaking of things that matter, human frequency. I want to jump right into it, man.
Cool.
So for those of you listening that don't know what I'm talking about I'd say a year ago you brought this up to me, probably.
I think so.
Yeah, about a year ago you mentioned something about the frequency that we listen to music at. The average is 440 hertz.
Yeah, that's what it has been adopted.
Yeah, I mean, I it's funny because like my little tuners on my guitar, my guitar tuners, like you can look at it and it says 440 and you can adjust it. But I've never never paid attention to that until like you mentioned that. So what we naturally listen at, what would be the right term? What we naturally exist at is like 432.
No, actually, our bodies vibrate at a different rate. So, if I'm not mistaken, it's around 20 to 26, and then we have different vibration throughout our bodies, and then we have our audible hertz rate, and then but what kind of jives with our body as far as music frequency, there's different rates that harmonize better with our genetic makeup.
So 432 hertz music in that frequency is what we jive with.
Yeah, 432 is in harmony with our body.
So when you said this, I was like, okay, I'm sure there's something to this, but I didn't really give it a chance at first. Honestly, probably forgot. And the other day, it's just I was reminded of it. I'm sure I saw it or someone said something about it. So I sat down in the studio and I put on the studio speakers. I was just telling you the story, and I put it on and I listened to a song at 432 hertz, and I was like, wow, this feels really good. Now, once again, I was like, maybe I just like the song.
Yeah.
And then, as I was telling you, I looked on YouTube, and anybody that wants to know the difference, go do this. Go on YouTube and look up a guitar player playing at 432 hertz as opposed to 440, because that's what got me. And the more I was listening to these different comparisons and kept going, and finally, it was I think it was Beethoven played on the guitar was one of them, but at 432 hertz, and it started playing, and I don't know how to describe it. My physical body felt. I couldn't tell if I was anxious or super calm.
Yeah, because it's disrupting the flow in our body, and this was done at a time in our history, because this was officially adopted, again, if I'm not mistaken, in the 1950s, and a lot took place right before this adoption
Of
440 hertz.
Okay.
Which leaves a lot of people questioning as to why, with all of the information that we have and had at the time, why would they go that route? And of course, there's plenty of explanations that make people feel good, but I think that people just need to feel for themselves.
So elaborate a little bit on that whole thing, because it wasn't always 440.
No, and I mean, there wasn't recording of music all throughout time, and it was people making and playing instruments in a room where you feel the vibrations straight from the instruments that were designed to make people feel good.
Mm.
A lot of music comes from when people are held down, it's
Oppressed or anything like that.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of passion comes out of that. So it's it really there's a lot of question as to why
it changed.
it changed and why they decided this, but it wasn't always like that.
Well, what's interesting is the fact that when I watched the YouTube video on the guitars at 2 different hertz,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like a volume thing or even a tempo thing. Like they were pretty specific, like keep the same tempo, everything. They were just able to tune it to a different A in 432 hertz as opposed to A in 440 hertz. So it's like if it changed at one point, that means like the tuning of instruments had to have changed with that, right?
Yes, and they say it's so people can hear the same piece of music the same way, whether they're in Russia or they're in China or they're in the United States, that a piece of music will always sound the same. And so that's why they needed to decide an international
Tune.
hertz that they're going to record at. Now, the timing is funny, and I'll leave that up to people to go explore.
The timing is funny, almost as if like it was intentional to cause something.
Well, at the same time, the music industry was being infiltrated by people that weren't necessarily in love with music,
Okay.
but were more in love with money.
All right.
And so with that, the intention changes as well. And then things slowly evolve into what they want it to be as opposed to what it was originally and what it was intended to be originally. So it's it really depends on ultimately who owns it.
Yeah.
And I think the more we look into who owns the things that we listen to, the more we may question like why we're listening to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny that you say that because, like, I mean, from my perspective, what I'm hearing, it sounds kind of like this idea of ownership, the power to manipulate it to, let's call it 440, right?
Yeah.
440 hertz, was intentional because when I did listen to the 2 different, over and over, listening to the differences, comparisons,
Mm-hmm.
I felt my body go through different things. It wasn't even just like, oh, I love this piece of music. Like things felt heavier.
Yeah.
Like 432 after like 4 or 5 songs was like, man, this feels really easy. I feel really at ease, very heavy, but almost like heavy with my own emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I would go back and listen to the 440, it almost felt off. It's almost like if your idea of flat was changed, the entire world, your entire universe would be destroyed, right? It was kind of like that. Like everything was all of a sudden slightly off. And like I had to put everything away for a little bit and like, all right, calm down, Hag. Don't ruin music for yourself. But I definitely noticed it felt a little, it was like 432 was the human, 440 was the music, 432 was soothing, and then the 440 became almost insane. Like I felt a little tweaked out. Like it was just slightly off. My brain was kind of being tightened. I felt all these things like, what the fuck? So I was like, all right, obviously, why we're talking about it because it was impacted by it so much. So I almost wonder what you're talking about, the idea that all of a sudden it changed. They had to come up with this universal, frequency. It very well could have been intentional because it's just enough to keep us not comfortable.
Yeah, and if you can disrupt people, then they're distracted.
It's a distraction thing, huh?
Bottom line, it's about distraction, and distraction in every facet of life, and it's in ways that we would never even think of until we think of it, or it's brought to us in a question that makes us actually ponder on it for a minute if we're willing to take the time.
Yeah.
And then it's a matter of, okay, now I have this information. I need to make a choice. Do I continue sleeping, or do I go with being awake and make a change in my life because I know this? And it doesn't need to be like, oh, I don't listen to any music at all or this or that. It's just knowing what you're getting into before you get into it, so we can better protect ourselves.
Be aware of it.
Yeah. Be aware of it and protect ourselves. And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but the first time I always felt that, it with music, but my senior year in high school, years ago, obviously, I worked at a place, and I don't know if I mentioned it before, but it dealt with magnetic resonance.
You did. You talked about that last time. Yeah.
Yeah. So that
badass.
That was really what opened my eyes to what music actually does to humans and just the universe.
Yeah.
Because of the vibrations that it puts out.
Mm-hmm.
And our air is an ocean. And just because we don't see the air doesn't mean it's not there, right?
Yeah.
So it still ripples like the water in the ocean. We just don't see those ripples.
Still my favorite thing you ever told me. One tiny finger can cause a tidal wave, far enough.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to be mindful of everything that we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and not to get ahead of ourselves and not to do things for the wrong reasons, and to listen to ourselves and do them for the right reasons.
So it leads me to beg the question of this whole idea, because, as everyone feels when they listen to that song that they love or that band that they love, it just fills them up and it feels so right. Nine Inch Nails, that's what it is for me, right? So all this is at 440, and it's like, if there was an intent to create this universal frequency that would cause just enough chaos to cause distraction, is what we're feeling diminished at all? Is it not truly what we're feeling? Are we almost like, I am feeling super present in this moment, I'm feeling super good in this moment, I love this song, it makes me feel like more me than I've ever been? Is that feeling fake feeling because of the idea that this frequency is distracting our harmony of our body?
It's not. Well,
in your opinion, I'm just
right.
curious.
I don't think it's a fake feeling, because every feeling we have is a feeling. It's a real feeling. Whether that is the proper feeling that is best for us, that could be in question. Because it's like, I guess you can eat the same thing made by two different companies. One, it's pure, and the other one's full of sugar.
Yeah.
So you're still gonna get it, but it's not gonna be the same.
It's just gonna be different. One could be slightly unhealthy.
Yeah, slightly.
Well, because that trips me out though. Because there's songs that I've listened to before. I literally just succumb to everything that song is, and to think like, what if that song was in 432 hertz? Like, what would the experience be like? How would that change? Would it be me not as succumb to it? Almost like some songs hypnotize you, right?
Yeah.
And it's like this idea of distraction. Like, so this frequency comes and vibrates, and our bodies are made up of just as much, like you were talking about, atoms, which I want you to go talk about that again. That was sick as fuck. But it comes and disrupts all this, right? And puts us in a specific place. Now, take that exact same chain of events, but this time the music's coming in at 432 hertz, and instead of like shaking us up to put us in this one place, it keeps us right where we are and harmonizes us. Like, can you imagine listening to your favorite music?
It really depends on what the message of that song is and what the intention behind making that song was too.
So you think the artist actually a lot of the time is intending to do it at that hertz?
I think there are musicians that do it intentionally. I think some want to. I think some do it unknowingly. I think some don't know what they're getting into. And then we learn along the way, and some evolve and some stick with it. There's all types of people, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because each one of them's a reflection. But, it's like, as far as the recordings, I know that there are musicians out there that put certain intentions behind their music when recording it. And it's about having the knowledge, because I'll still listen to the song.
Yeah.
I still will like the song, but there's a protection there now to where it won't penetrate certain levels of consciousness.
But don't you think that's taking away from, experiencing the music on the deepest level? Because it's not.
But if it's not deep, then how deep can you go with it? Because a lot of the music is made for the popular.
Okay.
That's why a lot of it has chants. They chant over and over. It's to get people to
jump on board.
It's
like writing a hook for a chorus.
Yeah, and there's this rad reggae song from the 70s, and it's slipping my mind on who it was. But it'll come back to me. But in it, he's saying there's people all over the world singing and dancing. But do they really know what they're singing and dancing about? Because people get caught up in the entertainment aspect of it, as opposed to what the message really is. And so there are musicians that can slip a message in there and get millions of people to follow it, and they don't even know what that message is.
I agree with you 100%. But I also think, we also live in very much a time where even popular music, like a lot of songs become popular because these kids, these teenagers, these young adults, everyone in different eras, there's a lyric that they relate to. The message of the song is why they like it so much. Not even necessarily the music itself, but the message is everything, which is why they listen to it.
Yeah.
And it's structured the same way as that other song that they may not notice the message of. It's all, lyric writing, being aware of that. So I guess take a song that does have a very deep message, something that, that is meant to go really deep, and, and everyone listens to music differently. Like I can't sit here and say like certain music that I hate and can't stand isn't going to make someone feel the way I feel when I listen to the Zeppelin or, Nine Inch Nails or Tool,
It's all like, where we are when we hear it.
Yeah. It's everyone has their own experience, but like they're going to feel that, say a song with a deep message to someone, 440 hertz recorded, in the regular way, they're going to feel that on the deepest level. Now they become aware of the idea that maybe the frequency that's coming in is not actually taking them to a good place, but it's taking them to a distracting place. Do you think that affects the ability to listen to music? Because it's like there has to be a threshold.
It will for a minute.
For a minute, and then are you able to let yourself go and go back just as deep with the music?
Well, okay, so just like we were talking about a little bit earlier about taking a minute, taking a step back from what we're doing to kind of reset and make sure what we're doing is the right thing. I think it's the same thing.
Okay.
It's there's realizations we have, and then we make choices. Some people will freak out when they learn certain things, and others, will take the information and, stew on it for a bit. And then, ultimately we're habitual creatures. And so we all kind of go back to certain habits, autopilot style, but
it's only natural. Yeah.
Right. And it's,
if we were 100% present all the time, we wouldn't be human, right?
Yeah. It's
something we can't fathom yet.
Right. Yeah.
That's,
what if we're sleeping when we're awake, and when we're sleeping, it's actually when we're awake?
Yeah. What if the Matrix is real?
Boom.
But it's, but it's like it's the red pill, blue pill thing. Like, even with the knowledge, like what are you really changing? Like what are you really going to change that's going to change your everyday life? Being aware is the one thing you can do and try to make a better decision every day. But, you know, it's like you said, some people get information and they freak out and shut down, you know, because it's just too much to accept, you know, and then.
What I changed was who I give my money to.
Really?
Because that's where we can change things. I can't control, or I shouldn't want to control anyone else. I just worry about myself. I have this one to take care of, you know, my kids and, you know, and, you know, my loving wife. We take care of each other. Yeah. But, you know, it's, yeah. Sorry, I got distracted with my kids.
No, you're good. That's a good distraction.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm getting at is like, so you were talking about before the idea that, you know, take atoms for like, we're made up of all, like the air is full of atoms, you know, we're full, everything is full of these actual existing matter, you know, molecules, everything is existing, right? And it's all moving based off this sound vibration, which, you know, I love sound vibration. I think listening to music on big speakers at the proper, you know, volume and letting your body absorb music, the actual sound vibration is healing. But now you take that concept, like take it a little deeper, take it to what we're talking about, and you throw in a frequency that doesn't necessarily quote unquote harmonize with our natural body. So if it's not harmonizing, then it's doing exactly not that. So this subtle, what is it, 8 hertz off of what harmonizes with us, subtly off. It's almost like all these, you know, listening to music in a way it may take us to a certain place. We may, excuse me, love it so much, but it's almost like subtle torture.
Yeah, well, I mean, 8 degrees in water temperature can go from warm to burning your skin.
Well, that's what I mean. Like this is like in the air.
Yeah.
So it's like this subtle torture that's been going on for years.
And it was right after World War II.
Wow.
And you know, we kind of all know a lot of the things that they were doing during that time.
Well, because I mean that continued, right? The idea of like torturing with music, torturing with sound. I mean the CIA did it. I mean Metallica's famous because they used the Metallica. It was one of the albums they used to torture their prisoners. They would put them in a dark room and blast Metallica. And I'm like, okay, so now with this information, this idea of, you know, frequency, do you think that they were like taking it and then continuing to mess with the frequency it was being listened to? Like, what if it was at 445? What if it was at 450? What if they were to push things or, you know, change it up to the point where like you're listening to something that is a frequency that's so off-putting that you physically, your body just implodes?
Well, they you can feed people a little bit of arsenic every day, but you can't give them too much at once, otherwise they're just gonna die, right?
Wow.
So you can't go overboard with it, but it's all science. It's the science of numbers.
Yeah.
It's everything in this world is math.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to shapes, and when we have music play at different hertz levels, it creates different shapes
that we're literally physically
getting
hit with.
Right. And humans are not solid. We are gooey creatures, you know, so our bodies are absorbing these magnetic waves as we're listening to the music. And that's another thing, is how we're listening to music has completely changed.
Well, it's like you take,
and so it's not therapeutic at all.
Yeah, the frequency that's causing chaos, right? This frequency that's causing chaos in our bodies has gone from like a big open thing for us to absorb and take in to like this finally, it's like a sniper rifle in our ear.
Yeah.
This tiny little thing that's saying like just go straight to the brain and fucking just tweak it just
brainwash them.
And it's like it's not even about the message, not even about the instrument. It's not even about good or bad music anymore. It's like you're getting closer to your actual physical, you know, your computer, you know, your brain.
Yeah.
And you're just throwing this subtle torture at it all day.
Yeah.
And you don't think about it, and like that's why I had to stop listening. Because like I kept going back to the 432 and I was just noticing more and more, and I was feeling just so shitty from the 440. And I was like, dude, stop.
I tell you, I've been listening to a lot more reggae.
Yeah.
You know, I used to a lot when I was younger, but that's, I've gone back to, and that's driving with me a lot more.
It makes me curious as to like, and I've said this 100 times before, the idea of mental illness and like diseases and how much has like, you know, gone up recently. Like it's the idea, like I truly believe that a lot of mental illness and like anxiety and, you know, anxiety attacks, panicking, like all this stuff, depression could be extremely combated with the idea of stop putting headphones in your ears and get speakers and sit and have musical vibration touch your body. Like have it vibrate with your whole body so everything comes more in balance, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like, well, it can only go so far because if it's still at 440, you're still slightly disturbed. Now, what would I imagine if music was never put in 440, if it was all in 432? Like, where would we be, even with headphones, right?
I have no idea. All we can do is, you know, go from here and take the knowledge that we have, and hopefully there'll be some musicians out there that hear it and want to explore this. Yeah. You know, because, again, it's about what the intention is. Are you going just because you want to be a rock star, or are you going because you love music and you want to share your art with people, you know? Unfortunately, the majority of what we see are the people going after the money, because that's what's being thrown in our face, because that's the groups that own all the avenues for people to see it, you know, and they're the ones behind it, you know. So that's why it's fun to go see shows like yours, you know, where the musician is there for the music, you know, and is willing. Yeah, you know, it's truth, you know, and they're willing to sacrifice to present their art, you know, and it goes from music to any platform of art, you know. It's what are you willing to sacrifice? You know, I dealt with bands in the past that would sacrifice everything, and then I dealt with quite a few that wouldn't give anything and felt entitled for it all. And
well, I think we also, I mean, there's like the sweet spot of like, you know, the few people that control what we're listening to, what we can listen to, and then this idea of streaming comes out, the idea of social media, these things that people can post whatever they want. And there was like this golden hour of like, hey, you can't tell me what to do, I'm going to expose authenticity. And very, very quickly it evolved way past that to the point where like, all right, now how do I get validation? It's not even about having people listen and love my music. It's about people following me in my music. It's not about them listening and enjoying and being in that moment with me. It's about them following and showing up to my music.
That's because musicians were turned into products.
But it's like we did it to ourselves too, right? We were given this platform like Instagram, and you know, I can post a song to Spotify for $10. I can post, like, it's literally scream into a microphone, just and make fucking fart noises, and for $10 that's on Spotify.
Well, there's a reason why the curve continues to go down, to encompass more of the masses. Yeah, and, you know, to include everybody, you know, and
it's dumbing down. Yeah,
and it's not good. It's not going to progress our society to regress or to cater to just everyone. It's like, let's be real. So, you know, I'm not a physicist, and I'm okay with that. But I'm definitely have more skills than just cleaning a toilet. Yeah. You know, and it's not anything against anybody who goes and cleans toilets. They may want to, or that's just what it is. But it's, you know, it's what we want to do at that time. Yeah. We should go that direction.
Well, I think that there's a lot of this independence that says it's independence if you are doing something because you want to. It's not independence if you say you're doing what you want to, but making sure everyone sees you do it. You know, there's a huge difference there, right? And that's what I was getting at with like this, you know, the idea of
Instagram.
Yeah, everyone can post that, but I do really believe that there there are still bands at the top of the game, some of the biggest bands that very much sacrifice everything and still go out there and give it, which is why we still have this fighting chance. And there's still bands out there that give it their all and perform, and like you're in that moment, even in a stadium. And that's why that's why I do music. That's why I love it so much.
Yeah.
And from the top down to the bottom, I think what's happening is we're so saturated with the idea that everyone can expose it that no one's actually getting that good, and no one's actually, like I said, it's like, follow me on my music. Don't listen and, appreciate my music. Like, what if you were the greatest, songwriter of all time, and you impacted 10 people that were so impacted they went on to change the world, but, you didn't have 100,000 followers, and you didn't make, 2 million a year, and you didn't, like, it's like, would you really want that? Where do you actually stand? What you were talking about with the sacrifice. And I think we're going to enter an age where we're going to get a lot more people willing to sacrifice for good stuff.
Absolutely.
Just because it's so oversaturated, it's on its way down. It really is. It's on its way down. The transition's coming. You know,
people are eating healthier.
Yeah, people are
they don't
trying
want
to be
the
better.
crap food anymore. They want something that's actually going to nourish the body. We don't want these one-hit wonders anymore. That's why my good friend that masters music for the last, 50 plus years, he took his rig into the house, because of the infiltration by the foreign investors buying up all the record labels here in the States. They changed it. They changed it from the authenticity to fabricated bands and giving entertainment, and that's why all these bands were created to entertain people, and then that's why they just turn them in and turn them out.
Yeah.
And obviously it's changed quite a bit since then, and even since I stopped recording music.
It changes every day now.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy part, is like it's funny how things like that, like cycles in the world, you can always notice it's about to enter something brand new when it's changing every day. It's almost like music and artists and exposure and the why, the authenticity, the sacrifice is redefining itself every day, because people are trying so many different ways to get a hold of authenticity, to get a hold of what they're willing to sacrifice for. Because even the blandest of people are tired of eating shitty,
Yeah.
There's still a group of, don't get me wrong, there's still people that eat shitty, there's still people that all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a more and more craving every day for something more, which, is going to ignite this idea that people aren't going to put up with, there's a tidal wave of music. There's a million new artists every day, but you can keep doing that. But eventually, we know now. We know to expect that. We don't care. We want to find something that we're going to vibe with, relate to, because, they get at 440 hertz is causing chaos. Well, we just forget that for a minute. We just cause complete chaos by letting everyone have a hold of something that can truly impact the brain, the human body, the physical essence of it. We just gave like nuclear weapons to everybody, for the physical body.
That's
the sound vibration.
That's the digital world.
But it's also
internet,
about to enter a great area, though.
It'll be interesting where it goes. There's obviously, there's beer, there's wine, there's liquor, so there'll always be what music is now. But I do hope that at some point the trend does move back to musicians all playing together at the same time while recording the music and doing it analog style.
Yeah.
As opposed to each musician doing it independently, recording their bits, chopping off each little end of the guitar sounds or the drum beat, so it sounds so precise and digital that it's like, what am I listening to? It's like, if you can listen, just listening to music from the 60s and the 70s, the way they recorded it, so much different. What's the one song, Wrapped Up Like a Deuce, Blinded by the light.
Okay.
Blinded by the. Okay. So, forever, it sounds like, I thought it sounded like wrapped up like a douche. And it's like, well, why is he talking about a douche in this song? That didn't make sense. And
Yeah.
it's like an old song, right? Well, no, it's wrapped up like a deuce. And so, okay, that's in reference to a car. But finding out why they knew that it sounded like that when they recorded it. But the equipment that they had at the time
Couldn't fix it.
And they would have to make the entire rest of the song sound different if they wanted to make that one word sound proper.
Yeah.
But that's one element of that song that has made it a classic, right?
Yeah.
Because it's authentic. It's
Yeah.
raw. It's people in a room making music.
Well, it's like, take the way I record, for example. Like, I've been in multiple studios, recorded tons of stuff for people, and it's always like, oh, can we get that lick real quick? Just redo that lick. Let's get in his, like, 30 fucking takes of this one part of a 3-minute song. Like me, when I record my songs, like, if I tell myself, like, all right, I'm going to do guitar and vocal tracks separately. But when I sit down to do guitar tracks, it's start to finish. Like, that's it. I'm not going to stop at the verse and, like, cut in, like, it's one take. Because recording for me, and like I said, everything is through the mics, straight in. There's, like, no digital aspect, maybe mixing later. But, I mean, I got a real analog compressor. I've spent, like, my freaking life on that. And it's very much, I'm very, very huge advocate for this stuff.
Well, I know you are. And
Very, very
I've
big
seen,
on this.
Yeah.
So it's like, because like in that one song, it's like it's not just the right take of like, oh, he nailed it. It's a matter of capturing the take that is the essence of the song. Because when you listen to that, 60 years from now, when you listen to that song way later, like that's what stays. That moment stays. Quincy Jones always said capturing a moment, not the perfect take.
That's what it is. It's not a plastic mold of a doll.
Yeah.
That's not what a song should be. But they've made, there's this formula that they figured out works. And so they just keep using the same formula. The sound,
So,
yeah.
With that being said, though, like that formula totally does work, right?
Do you have a lighter?
I think it's somewhere in the kitchen there. Didn't you just light the bong?
Yeah.
You can go grab it if you want real quick.
Sorry.
You're good. For everyone that's listening, do you have a lighter on you?
Yeah. I actually had it in my pocket.
Anyway, so the idea of this perfection, like, these perfect sounds, I mean, I think what I'm starting to notice even, and you don't have to be musically educated. You just have to be someone that listens to fucking music. I think there's so much of it, and it's become old news. Like, perfection has become old news. So when people hear raw authenticity in the like slightly imperfect track, they start to vibe with that. And we start to like, it's almost like
Human?
Well, I mean, it's human, but it's like we're tasting something that we've tasted before, but haven't had it in so long that once we taste it, everything is like salt.
Say, wait, what? I'm familiar with that flavor.
You're like, I want more of this. I want to I want to consume all of this.
Yes.
And that's what I'm noticing more. Like, people show me new music all the time, and I'm like, really? You? Like, and I immediately have this like preconceived idea of who this person is, right? Or who they are to me. I've had my experiences. This is the kind of music they listen to. And all of a sudden they throw this song out of left field. And I'm like, really? You like this? Like, yeah, I love that it's like he's saying this or she's doing this one thing. And it's always about something that is very much the person, very much authentic. I'm like, fuck. Like, maybe I'm just over aware of this, but I don't think people see how much they want this.
Oh, oftentimes we'll scream it. We'll scream it for years before we realize what we've been screaming for years.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
And one day it's just, oh my God, that's what that means. That's what that means. Okay, it all makes sense now.
Yeah.
It's like one day you can say, you know what? I've evolved. I'm pretty awake.
Yeah.
And then a week goes by and you go, damn, I'm not awake at all. I got to keep waking myself up, because every day we wake up with amnesia. And we got to remember everything.
Every day we wake up with amnesia. I love that's fucking badass.
Yeah. We got to remember everything and then hope that our memory doesn't fail us.
Wow.
Because memories change.
That makes you start to question what happens when you go to sleep. Why do we wake up and have to try to remember, right?
Yeah.
That's
There's a lot of things we got to question everything.
yeah.
Like everything.
Yeah.
It's best just to wait a minute. Why are you telling me that?
Yeah. But I think it's important to find a balance of like, it's okay to question everything, but don't let questioning lead you down a path of
The rabbit
hatred.
hole.
Yeah, well, because it's so quickly it can become like something of like hatred. You know, like
well,
I hate the world. I don't trust anyone. I don't trust anything. You know, it quickly becomes a negative thing.
Yeah, we got to stay positive with it all.
Yeah, like question it because you want to, because you're curious, because you experience, like, because Haig listened to a song at 432 hertz and is fully fucking aware of how it made him feel. So question every other song. Don't make every other song bullshit. Don't make everything he's loved for so long, not worth listening to. Just think about it. Like, I wonder what if. I wonder how different it would be. I wonder what part of the frequency, because the song has a message that vibes with me. The song has a tempo, a rhythm, a groove, a beat, a sound, a tone, a note. All those things are grooving with me. I wonder what it is about the frequency that maybe be the distracting part of it. That's kind of where my head went. It's like,
it'd be interesting to hear. Well, see, it's difficult though too, because a band would have to
re-record it, right?
They would have to record the same song at the same time in their life, just at different hertz.
Yeah.
Because I can go eat something today, and then 10 years I can go try to recreate it, but it's just not going to be the same.
I like that. That's a really good analogy too. Everyone listen to what Josh just said. That's especially for music, because I'm a very, very, like I said, very, very much about this idea that every note doesn't matter. Like, doesn't matter how many people play the same song. Everything is different. It's always going to be different. It's all about where you are in life, that moment, what's channeling through you, like what you're vibing with. You can never recreate it. You can play the same song, and you can create new experiences that are just as much depth, but that moment. So it's like, they can go back and re-record it with 432 hertz, but it's still not going to be.
It's not. Well, yeah, it's not going to be the same, because it's like, what happened to the vocalists that morning before they recorded? Were they on drugs? Were they sober? Did they want to be on drugs, but they were sober?
Yeah.
It's like, where were they? Did their girlfriend just dump them, or did they just get in a spat with? There's so many variables.
Yeah.
So it would.
Think about Alanis Morissette. Imagine if Alanis Morissette tried to re-record her albums. Talk about a badass, pissed off 90s chick, right?
She wouldn't be able to.
Like 90s chick. She was in there. I love using her as an example, because she's such a perfect example of like moment, era, where you are in life.
Yeah.
Like captured. Yeah. Fucking captured.
Yeah.
Because like her message was there. Her songs were there. Her talent was there. But like, back that all up with where she was. If you took all that talent and put it right now, no way. No fucking way.
Yeah, no, because oftentimes we do things in life with a certain idea, a certain story that we've adopted. And it's true because we've adopted it. And when we achieve a goal that story may have in it, it can look like something entirely different. And we can set out for something with the wrong intention, and then we're presented with what we wanted. And it's an eye-opening experience. It can enslave us, or it can set us free. We make the choice.
So it's almost like we get exactly what we were asked for, exactly what we wanted, but then we're surprised at that.
We get everything we deserve.
Interesting. So you believe that we do deserve things, and that we get everything we deserve?
Yeah, it's what we put out.
Okay, yeah.
We get everything we deserve. If I'm going to go out and be an asshole to people, I deserve for people not to want to be around me. Yeah. I deserve for people to want to talk shit or do whatever, but if I go out and I want to do good and I want to help, then that will reciprocate back.
But then you start to ask yourself, like, right, are you going out and doing good and being a nice person because you want people to like you, or because it's what you genuinely want to do?
Well, it's a good question for everyone, and that's when we need to look at, why am I doing this? Is it because of my ego, or is it because of the genuine nature?
Well, it's a perfect example of creativity, right? And
Mm-hmm.
first of all, creativity, everybody's creative. You can use whatever you want. There's some cards there, you're good. Everyone's creative in some way at some point, no matter what.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like the same thing. Like, are you going out and trying to express something that's genuinely, authentically you because you want to share who you are and share what you have to share? Or are you manipulating what you want to share to get a response? Because I want to be the guy that's nice and helps out. I want to be the guy that releases the song that hits the top charts. I want to be the guy that paints the next painting that, goes up on the fucking, goes in the Vatican, or you know what I mean? Like, and not that any of those things are bad. I think they are outcomes farther down the tree than what your foundation is.
Yeah.
Doing it for the right reasons, these branches grow, and these branches will, bear fruits that say top charts, bear fruits that say 100,000 fans, bear fruits that, that not that any of it's bad, but when you plant that seed and hope to get to that one fruit, I mean, what's the point of fucking planting that seed, right?
Well, you have a lot of fruit on the tree.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, when you say all these different fruits, like
Yeah.
I'm planting the seed, I'm going to go through all this
Yeah.
stuff and try to manipulate just to get to that one, idea of something.
Okay.
It's thinking so small while trying to create something so big. It's so quick to manipulate that process.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people don't even start the process, because they put blocks before they can even get going.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to wait.
Well, I see that, and that's what I mean, though. It's like, are you going out and being a nice person because it's just who you are? Are you going and planting that tree and letting it grow, not because you expect people to be nice to you, not because you expect to get the fruits from it, but because you want to see this beautiful thing grow and see what happens, because you love this process, Because a tree's going to come from both of them. You're still going to get a tree.
Absolutely. And, and it's, I think there's no such thing as altruism, because I'm going to feel good by helping somebody.
Yeah.
So no matter what, I'm going to feel good by it.
Yeah.
But as long as there's no strings attached. If there's no strings attached, then I believe it's still pure. The intention is still there, and the good is still good, But if you're going and you're saying, well, I'll come down there and I'll help out, but you're gonna have to show up at my event, or there's anything like that, that's when it mucks it up a little bit. Actually, a lot.
I think that's a really important thing to pay attention to too. Like, you go do something, and it's okay to do it because it's going to make you feel good. But to go do it to expect something in return from an outside source, basically, it's almost like this internal healing. Like, I'm going to go do something for someone else because it's going to heal me internally. It's like selfish, but it's not.
Right, and I mean, it's not like we need to accept money for it. The sacrifice is our time.
It's funny how we all of a sudden get pleasure out of sacrificing, right?
Well, people find it every day in the kitchen. When there's so many chefs out there that just want to cook for people, because the joy that this thing that we have to do multiple times a day, every day of our life.
Yeah. Eat.
It brings joy to people, especially to have something good.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's okay to be selfish. It's okay to be selfish. We need to be selfish. We need to love ourselves.
Well, I
we
think that's
need to
where-
preserve ourselves.
That's where you discover your creativity too.
Absolutely.
Because there's different types of selfish, right? Like the selfish we're talking about is a selfish that says, hey, I'm playing my role in my life and sharing that with people because selfishly it makes me feel good.
Right, and everything we want to do,
But that's
to
where
make us feel good,
Yeah.
right? But it's as long as it's not in anybody else's detriment, you know.
Yeah, it's like hurt as little amount of people on the way. Most of the time, no one. I mean, it's very possible.
Yeah.
Like if you're hurting multiple people along the way, you're probably not doing something that you should be doing. You're probably not going to get as much joy out of it as you think you are.
Yeah, or yeah.
Yeah, that's a sticky one. I feel you.
Well, that can go many different directions from there. But
So then there's the idea of adaptation, right? Adapting to how you feel, how you react, how everyone else reacts, adapting to the things that do make you feel good, right? So to bring that back into the idea of the music and the frequency, and this is another thought I was actually very curious about, because I imagine you have a pretty good amount of experience with this. Can we, because we have the ability to adapt to so many things. We can retrain ourselves. We can say, hey, I'm going to wake up every day at 5 a.m. so I can have this hour. I'm going to put myself on a schedule. I'm going to train my body. I'm going to train myself this. Like, we have such an incredible ability to manipulate our body, to enhance it, or to adapt to our surroundings, our environment, to perform better. Mm-hmm. So now take music. We're listening at 440 hertz, and we harmonize with 432. Do you think that whether it's through meditation, through exercise, through all this stuff, that we can enhance or manipulate the body to find harmony in that frequency?
To find harmony in 440?
Yeah. Because we're able to, change so much.
Do we want to?
Well, that's what's being given, right? That's what's causing chaos. Like, what if we learn to find harmony in that so it wasn't disrupting us?
Well, that's I think that comes with just the knowledge.
Interesting.
Because nobody likes to be lied to. And being manipulated, being misled, not necessarily being told the opposite, it's still lying.
Yeah.
Because if you're if you're going and you're selling drugs and you cut the drugs, but you sell it
full price,
you're lying.
Yeah.
You didn't necessarily tell them, hey, this is cut, or you didn't tell them it was 100% because they trusted you.
Yeah.
And that's what people like to do. People like to trust. We want to believe.
Yeah.
And people know that. And people take advantage of that. But I think that there's a good amount of people waking up to it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of positivity and a lot of light coming.
Yeah. So I guess it's like, I guess what I'm hearing you're saying is, like, as long as we become aware, like we start to learn the difference when we do, like, take the 440 frequency, when we do listen, we know that this is subtly off of harmonious with us, and that in itself will allow us to find harmony again.
Yeah, because we make the choice then. Somebody's not making the choice for us.
But isn't the frequency physically, like, changing our actual, like, chemical balance of our, like, body, our physical balance?
Well, yeah, so it was McDonald's. People still eat it.
But I'm saying with the frequency, that's so physical, it's physically changing us. Like, if we become aware of it, our body will resist the being disrupted, but we'll still be able to enjoy it.
Right, that's the protection.
Wow. So it doesn't actually take away from the depth that we're able to experience it. If anything, it enhances the ability to go deeper.
It really, I guess that goes on the individual. For me, it's done things where I've definitely taken a step back, from how and who I enjoyed before. And I think it's easy to look at like a timeline of a band, and to listen to what their breakthrough album was, to their follow-up, to even if they had a third one. Those first 3 albums tell a major story. After that, a lot of it's just fluff. But those first 3 albums are pretty profound for a lot of what's going on with those people at the time. Because once you make it to a certain point, there's a lot of people telling you what to do.
Well, there's inspirations coming from somewhere different, because those songs, that writing, and we use music just because it's what we're talking about, but I think even artists, it's anybody and anything you're creating, which is everybody on the freaking planet, so yeah, everyone's creating every day. There's something to be said, no matter how in tune with yourself you are, you're creating not only from yourself but from your surroundings. Why do people go travel to the mountains to try to, get some solitude? Why do people go write in different areas? Why do they go to coffee shops? Why do they, jam with other musicians? Why do there's all this stuff. There's a reason, because it's not just ourselves that's, expressing it. It's that our surroundings, our environment has a lot to do with what we're expressing. So to think that this breakout album, right? They didn't have this exposure. They didn't have this stuff. All this stuff came from a time in their life. And then 4 albums later, if they'd last that long, they have a successful career, they have all this stuff. And it's not that those albums can't be just as impactful and just as deep. It's that it's going to require a different level, a different intensity, a different understanding of yourself and your surroundings. But you're not willing to take this kid that wrote these songs when he was 18 and had a breakthrough album, take that 40-year-old man that's writing, his 6th album, that should be the same place he's writing from internally. But he needs to learn to accept the outside inspirations so he can internally express himself, rather than, internally expressing yourself because you're, teenage angst, right? That's the perfect example. Teenage angst writing these songs, and all of a sudden, you make it successful. Oh, you write songs about being famous and having too much money. It's well, that angst is not teenage angst. That angst, that feeling, that internal you is what writes what it's experiencing. And that's what gets diminished. That internal creativity.
I think a lot of people get comfortable.
Yeah. Money, comfort, fame. 3 most dangerous things in the world.
Money is. Because that
it leads to comfort.
You wouldn't have fame or any of that stuff without money. Because it's an illusion of these fancy lives that people can live with money, and so people do just about anything for money. So they can then go live a life that they think they can live. But again, it goes back to the story that they adopt in their head. And
I like that a lot, the story that you adopt in your head. I like that a lot. I think that's very much like one of those amnesia things. You wake up, amnesia, all right, remember everything, and then realize, what's the story I've just adopted? What am I adopting? Who am I accepting as myself today?
Yeah. Is
it everything I've been through, or is it just a person existing another day? I like that. That's like a good what do you call mantra? A good thing to say to yourself every day. What story am I adopting today?
Yeah, and to be conscious throughout the day, because not to just fall into autopilot. That's why time goes so quickly as we get older, because we're so habitual. We just go into our patterns. Wow. And then the time just fleets by.
Interesting.
When we're younger and we're sitting there and we're staring at the clock and we're in our conscious state and we're just anxious to get out and go play and do whatever. Takes forever.
Wow, that's a really interesting concept.
Yeah.
The more habits we build, the faster time goes, because we give up our almost free will, our choice and cravings and our passions and wow.
And it makes you wonder, is this society that has been created for us in our best interest?
Habits.
I wonder why so many people have these mental illness issues.
Yeah.
It's all set up for us, like we're in a zoo.
Yeah, it's just too easy to fall victim to habits, to things that are going to lead us. Because our bodies react. We're physical beings. It's just too easy to become unhealthy.
Especially when we have so many unhealthy things around
Yeah.
us.
Which lead to unhealthy relationships, which is, I mean, let's be real, it says so much to do with,
Yeah.
illnesses. So it's
It
like
all
the
comes out.
inability to connect,
Yeah.
like depression and anxiety and stress and like so much stuff. And I have so many people close to me that suffer from these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it and like, I don't know how to help. Like, I'm not a trained professional and like how to understand what they're going through and work through with them. So like my best thing is I look about it and I'm like, what I've noticed is a consistency. It's always just this inability to connect with someone. To connect, it's like if there was enough connection, someone wouldn't feel alone or the burden. Like, and that's why I love music, because music takes the burden of what you're feeling for you while you're listening to it. Right? You're sad. You listen to a sad song. It's not that it makes you more sad. It's that it takes the burden.
It connects people.
You can imagine like being like, and there's there's no dialogue anymore for that, and that's in fact that's a huge reason. It's just I just wish there was a faster way to connect, but it's you're right. These habits, these things that we're so used to, in order to connect, we have to break those to connect even deeper.
Well, and see, and we've been told use these websites or these apps to connect with people, but it's just disconnecting people.
And it's causing more anxiety. Scrolling.
Yeah.
I've talked about this before. I've become like so I don't really have anxiety. I never really have. I'm a pretty healthy person. I don't have anything. A few times I've caught myself like heart racing, like not like physically not feeling good.
Yeah.
Scrolling. Like all of a sudden I'll be scrolling. I'm like, my eyes start to hurt. I can't focus on anything. My heart's racing. Like, oh my God, is time moving? Is time too fast? It's like
weird, right?
And I start to freak out. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's a rectangle. I could snap this if I wanted to.
But the amount of energy that's in that little rectangle is pretty frightening.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, like, lucky for me, like, I feel blessed in the sense that I can pick up a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
It's a piece of wood that came from the earth.
Yeah.
I can play strings and that vibration is touching my body.
Yeah.
It's immediate grounding for me.
Yeah.
But not everyone has that immediate, access.
No,
and we have immediate access to.
Right. But everybody does have immediate access to taking their shoes off and getting in the grass.
Yeah.
And that'll ground them too. It's just about getting back to something that is natural.
Natural law, yeah, natural feeling, natural existence.
Yeah, and that's why there's that disconnect as well, because so in Canada they are, I've read that they are going to take off indica and sativa from the packaging for marijuana.
Really?
And they're going to call it different things. And all that is to disassociate the fact that it's a natural plant. Slowly, that's why, the oils and everything.
Why would they change that? I mean, that's what it is.
Why would they want 440 hertz instead of 432? They want it's about disrupting what is
just
truth.
Enough.
Right.
Just enough.
They'll call it like uplifter or like mellow. But they're not going to call it what it naturally is, because then people know that it actually comes out of the ground. And everything that we need comes out of the ground. And we don't need all these things that we go buy.
Yeah.
We don't need to continue to give our money to certain conglomerates and then complain about those conglomerates.
It's interesting how it's something so subtle. It's like if you can cause the right amount of chaos, it'll trickle. It's like instead of doing a cannonball, dip your finger in the pool and watch that ripple slowly take over the entire pool without anyone ever noticing. Cannonball, everyone's going to notice. Like, all right, don't do that again. Mm-hmm. Just wait for the waves to calm down.
Well, it's a shot that was heard around the world.
Yeah.
That started the Revolutionary War. Nobody knows who shot it.
Yeah.
But somebody that wanted that war to start.
Yeah.
And there was a lot to gain. So it's like...
But it's such an interesting idea to think that, like, 8 hertz off was this idea to cause this disrupting and this chaos. But then again, music is such a rebel against all chaos. Music is such a fight in itself, or such a harmony in itself to say I exist beyond anything else you can fathom. Like,
Well, look at the rebels of music.
fucking rock stars.
Who are they? And to you, who are they to somebody that's in Croatia? Who are they to somebody that's in Japan? They're going to be different, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably. It's who we're exposed to.
Interesting.
And then who they are and what ideas they adopt along the way. And in a lot we can tell through their lyrics.
Yeah.
There's a lot hidden in the lyrics, and usually symbolism.
It's another reason why I love Nine Inch Nails so much.
There's a lot of symbolism in the artwork.
Yeah.
And so that'll tell you kind of what that band is into, or
What they're trying to say.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there's bands that have messages that I don't agree with, but I like that fucking riff. I like that, music.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe it's because I'm a musician. Like, I sometimes have to forget that I'm a guitar player, and, like, I listen to a lot of music just because I like the guitar.
Yeah.
And it's very, like, I don't actually like the lyrics or this and that. But yeah, I think it's, to be weary of it. It's...
Well, you probably don't agree with everybody you'll sit down and have a meal with.
No.
So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
I like hanging out with you.
Yeah.
I may not agree with your political stance or your religious stance, but I love you. You're a good person, so let's
Hang out.
let's hang out. We can learn from each other.
Let's connect.
Yeah, we learn from our differences.
Yeah.
Because we're all pieces of the puzzle. And we need to come together like Voltron. Yes.
Wow, it's been a long time since I heard that one, huh? So, and you might should be able to shed some light on this because it's the whole idea of drugs and listening to music. 440 hertz. when you take like psychedelics and hallucinogenics and drugs that totally almost take over the mind or free it up, music sounds different. Music feels different.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that has to do with the idea of the frequency it's at? In your personal experience.
I think it has to do with the frequency the person's at that time.
So the drugs take a person to a different frequency.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we're experiencing the 440 from outside of our own harmony.
Right. So it makes sense why most of the time I would never want to listen to music.
Wow.
It would make me anxious. I didn't like
Yeah.
it. It didn't. I like, it's about grounding, and it was just overstimulating. And so if you're in a state like that and something is too stimulating, then there's something to be
Well, it's like the
questioned
cannonball
about that.
effect, right? Like the little finger, the ripple that we've just accepted just became a cannonball because we become so far out of balance with that. But I almost wonder, like, can you like dose drugs? Can you find the drugs that work with every like person? Like, find a drug, dose it properly to put yourself in a place where you are harmonizing with 440. You know what I mean?
One way to find out.
But like, how cool would that be? Like,
Yeah.
if you could actually measure.
I'm
the
sure
drugs,
there is.
Like, because drugs have so many effects, right? Like, this one causes this one causes that, this one makes you do this,
Right.
whatever it is. But imagine if you could take them and be like, all right, this amount of this drug will literally put my ability to listen and absorb sound vibration at harmony with the way we record music. I'd do drugs all the fucking time if that was the case. If I could control that.
It would be interesting to find out, and it's like at what dose. At what
Because
dose?
they're microdosing things for
mushrooms.
Yeah, for like, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, for PTSD and depression, and there's a lot of things that fungi is fantastic for.
Yeah.
It's going to save the world, I tell you. But
I can't argue on that one.
and I don't mean just in the psilocybin facet. It's a fantastic thing. So, but people will be seeing a lot more about it.
But it's incredible to me,
Oh yeah.
It really is incredible to me because, like, the idea of dosing something, because, like, take the idea of drugs and hallucinating and all that stuff out of it. Here you have something growing out of the ground, something that has an extremely strong effect on our human body, a natural thing that has this powerful effect on our human body. And then if we learn how to take it properly, it will allow us to overcome things that we have developed, diseases. It will allow us to experience possibly things at a more harmonious level. Like, but it leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah, because it kind of clears all the clutter. And
I mean, I've never taken any hallucinogenics or psychedelics and things like that. But just for me, just logically, something that grows out of the ground that has this ability. Yes, too much of anything is bad, but the idea of dosing, of knowing, of studying it and finding out what it does and how you can use it to your advantage because it is natural and has this powerful effect. I'm over here thinking, fuck, if I'm harmonizing with fucking 432, I can dose something that comes out of the ground. All of a sudden, every piece of music that's been recorded in the last 70 years is kicking ass. Like,
yeah, well,
but that heal.
What, the music or the
experiencing
experience?
Music, experiencing music and that harmonious like that. All the songs you love becoming into a place that harmonizes with you.
See, that would be interesting to take those songs that you love and then listen to them under a different psychedelic state.
Yeah.
But then again, you may not want to.
And it could totally backfire.
It could, yep. You may not ever want to listen to that song again.
Could totally ruin it for you.
But,
I'm just so fascinated by that.
If that happened, though, that would be purposeful. And that would be exactly what you needed at that time.
Yeah, like maybe it's been much worse than you thought, and all of a sudden you were able to, tap into something that just is fucking with you.
It's like, honestly, it's kind of like the Cliff Notes. It's like a fast track way in as opposed to meditation. Because through meditation you can get to certain places that you can get through psychedelics. Not entirely, but to like a certain heightened state where you're downloading things and it just is.
Well, that's why meditation is so much more, I guess, popular. It's because you can control it and you can only get better at getting to that place. With with taking drugs, it's so easy to overdo it and take yourself to somewhere where you don't want to be.
Well, it's scary for people.
Yeah,
it's scary
absolutely.
for people because they don't know what they're getting into, and it's like where did it come from? What is the source of it?
Yeah,
because there's people that just want the money from it, or there's people that want people to experience this heightened state, and it can be more than anything. It's humbling.
Interesting, humbling, huh?
Because it shows it. It's just another reminder of how small we are, how complicated we are, and how simple we are. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated.
Yeah.
We've allowed it to become so overcomplicated. Little by little by little.
The ripple. The little dip in the pool. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's just a little wave, and you turn around and, how's it going? Yeah, sure, the wave's a little bit bigger, but hey, why are the fish flopping around? Hey, but
Yeah.
Instead, just go, hey, that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Stop to notice what's going on, because there's a lot of things going on right under our noses every single day.
Yeah.
But if they say, hey, look over here.
Look over here.
Then people go, oh, what's that? That's shiny. That's fun.
Yeah.
And then
8 hertz off, and all of a sudden it's just slightly over here.
So, yeah. So it's again, it's just about maybe doing an internet search on every single thing that comes to our mind.
Well, then you would just be addicted to a screen all day, man. But it's I think it's a matter of I think it's the philosophy behind it.
Yeah.
Be interested in what you're thinking about. Be interested in what you question. Don't just brush things aside, because it's like, you know what? At the end of the day, no one's gonna be able to tell you what's more important than what. Like, it's your life. It's what you're thinking. It's your thoughts.
Yeah.
Just enjoy them.
Well, and that's the thing. Enjoy.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what it all should come down to, is joy.
Yeah.
And so if they're disrupting people without them knowing, they're not allowing them to have the joy that they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
keeps them just unhappy. Huh?
Right. It's like saying, oh, this is 100% sirloin steak, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's horse or something. So it's just tell people what it is. Be honest. And I love going back to the Clinton and Obama.
Okay.
When Clinton was asked if he smoked pot, he gave a ridiculously stupid answer, and that has followed him forever.
Okay.
Sure, I smoked pot, but I didn't inhale. And it's like, okay. Now I don't trust you for many reasons.
It's like anybody that says that. It's like just honesty.
Right. So when Obama was asked that question, he's like, "Yeah, and I inhaled." He's like, "What's the point?" He's like, "That's why you smoke, to inhale it."
Yeah.
And it squashed it right then and there.
Everyone's like, "Oh my God! Well, what are we gonna do about it?"
So it's just about owning up and saying what it is.
Yeah.
And if something doesn't jive, sit right. Don't just adopt it as truth.
Yeah.
Question it. And say, no. That looks like an apple. And you're telling me it's an orange. I disagree. And it doesn't mean it needs to be a fight. It doesn't mean it's just
as long as you know it, you're aware of it.
Yeah, but why? But it's finding out why the other person is calling it an orange when it's an apple.
Interesting.
Because that's what's more interesting to me. Is
that allows the connection.
Well, why did that person adopt that as truth?
Interesting.
Because everybody's in their mind is truth. Everybody's truth. Because that's what they've adopted.
Yeah.
And so everybody's right.
Huh, everybody's right.
Everybody's right. And so that's why we have, we have so much friction. Because ego gets in the way. And so when ego gets in the way, then it's like, well, no. And we lose sight of why what we were discussing in the first place.
Yeah.
Or somebody takes advantage of the fact we were arguing and does something over here, and then we got something else to go on. I mean,
yeah. No, I like all that. I think anybody listening that's struggling in creativity, struggling in anything, like, stop, question what you're doing, and then go find something or someone to connect with purely out of curiosity for where they're coming from.
Yeah. Ask yourself why. Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why am I reading this? Why am I watching this? Why am I following this? I broke up with sports, professional sports. I think I'm on my way to that. I won't follow it.
I don't.
I won't. And going back to that feeling that you said you had when you were swiping.
Yeah.
I hadn't watched a football game all season so far. I won't follow it anymore. And what was it, last Thursday night? It came on, and I got this anxiety built up inside. Yeah. And I was like, ooh, this isn't vibrating with me anymore. It's building this anxiety. And when that happens, it needs to come out. And if we don't know how to properly get it out, it's going to fester. Or it's going to come out in ugly ways. It's going to come out in ways that we may not want.
Yeah.
And if that person is under the influence of alcohol,
Yeah.
who knows what the hell's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's like I had to turn it down, turn it off. I couldn't watch it because it was making me feel uncomfortable just by the anxiety of it all.
My girlfriend asked me the other day. I had time Sunday to watch football, and she was like, "Are you watching?" I was like, "No." She's like, "Why not?" I was like, "Honestly," and I said this to her. I was like, "Honestly, I don't know. Like there's a lot of things I want to do. I can be doing, and like, one, I'm not getting paid to play. I'm not good enough to be those athletes. Nothing I'm gonna do is gonna change how it goes, and I just end up angry at the end of it. Like, why the fuck would I watch a whole day of that? I'd rather watch Lord of the Rings."
Yeah,
You know, it's but it's like it wasn't until I vocalized that I was like, wow,
yeah.
I just questioned something I've always done and realized that it's not actually that great, is it? I don't actually like. I love talking about sports.
Mm-hmm.
I love talking about the players and the stats with my friends. Like, oh, this person.
It's
I
a
love,
social thing.
I love highlights. I'm like, oh, that was crazy what that guy did. But like sitting down and watching the game and like being so into, like, I'm not playing. Like, it really is. It's only not only, but it's led to more improper flow of who I am than proper flow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting. Like, even, and just that sports, that's just that example transferring into everything. You know, maybe you have a ritual that you do. Maybe, like, you know, when I pick up my guitar, there's something that I do, a way I practice, a way I listen to music, a way I sing. Like, being able to question everything that you already do to realize, like, maybe this isn't what's right for me. You know, someone, I was talking to a very, very, very amazing documentary maker yesterday. And he made a point. He's like, the biggest issue with people that go down passion, the idea of passion, is that they find one general idea and say, I'm passionate. Like, I'm passionate about music. Well, no, because if you say you're passionate about music, you're going to go down a musical path and find difficulty and not know what to do and be like, why is this so hard, and hate so much. He's like, you can love music, but find what you're passionate about. Are you passionate about playing guitar? Are you passionate about writing music? Are you passionate about performing? And he made it it was really important. I think that applies to everything, like this idea that you can enjoy something, but don't let it become, like, if it's causing that improper flow,
Yeah.
like, it means you haven't found what it is you like about it.
Exactly. You're still searching.
Yeah.
And
that's where that questioning you're talking about comes into play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yeah.
You know, that's really what it comes down to. And I think it's good to look at that in every aspect of my life and one's life, you know, and just when you think you may have figured them all out, there's one that pops up.
Yeah.
You know, it's, oh, I didn't even think about that. Damn.
And you may
thank
really
you.
like that.
Well, and every time it pops up, say thank you.
Yeah.
Because that is our self, like waking ourselves up. That's our self trying to get us to the next level. Because we are talking to ourselves. That we all have that voice.
Absolutely.
We all have that voice, and it's like, are we going to listen to it or are we going to ignore it? Because we have the voice that comes in here, and then we have that little brain bully sitting right here going, haha, no, this is really what you want to do.
Well, I always say our conscience is just a voice that is a sum of every experience you've had as a person. It's almost like you had this, like, imagine just an energy, right? Or goo or clay, and everything you experienced in your physical life up until this point has sculpted that into something. It's not actually you. It's just something that's been sculpted, and now it's speaking to you. So don't for a minute think that's actually you.
Right. Well, there's different parts to that, because there's the internal and then the external.
Yeah.
And those things that are collected over our lives are the viruses that the computer collects. They're all the extra files that we forgot to delete that just kind of bog our computer down. That's what those are. Because we're collecting other people's thoughts, because it's a collective consciousness.
Yeah.
So we're collecting other people's energy, We're collecting other people's thoughts. We're collecting every single day. We're collecting the impurities in the air because of all the soot, because of all the planes, because of all the, everything. So, yeah, we're collecting all that. And that's why we need to cleanse ourselves and eat good and do our best to not add more to that, because we're already getting bombarded by it left and right. And then with all the electromagnetic waves and everything from all the,
Everything.
Yeah, everything, everything, and then all the plastics, the petroleum. I mean, it's everywhere. So knowing this, it's just like, what can we do to do our best to navigate through the waters?
Beautifully put.
So, thank you.
Well, Josh, I appreciate you diving into this with me, man.
My pleasure.
It's so nice to have someone that I can go into this stuff with. Anybody listening, do yourself a favor and listen to the questions you ask yourself, and don't let them bring you down. Don't let them tear you apart. Let them just better how you choose to live your life every day.
Absolutely, and talk to your friends, and don't feel insecure about doing it, because everybody is going through the same thing, and everybody just wants one thing: to be loved.
Absolutely.
Bottom line.
I love that. Well, rock
Cool.
and roll, man.
Thanks,
Thank
brother.
you. Peace.
Appreciate you. Cheers.